The turnover chain made a brief appearance, a cameo appearance of sorts in the Orange Bowl, but did not star. And that was the big reason why Miami fell to Wisconsin 34-24 at the Orange Bowl. Mark Rogers TV with instant analysis of the Canes and the Badgers, a very entertaining game, and there is much to talk about here. Wisconsin moves on to 13-1, its first 13-win season in school history. They have won 4 consecutive bowl games. They've beaten the likes of USC and Auburn, and now Wisconsin. They won a Cotton Bowl last year as well. Miami falls to 10-3, losing the final 3 games of the season. All right, the turnover chain made an appearance very soon in this game, very early in the game with 13 minutes left in the first quarter. Jonathan Taylor fumble. I believe that it was not a fumble, but they looked at it on replay, and it was questionable. It was very close. I'm not going to go crazy about that. It was very early in the game, inside the first $1:15, and the Taylor fumble did not hurt Wisconsin. It was not turned into points. Wisconsin actually got the ball back and drove it down the field for the field goal to make it 3-0. Then for the better part of the first quarter, Miami was the far superior football team. They played the part that we like to stereotype Miami football versus Wisconsin football. Miami was coming off the edge. They were making life miserable for Alex Hornibrook early in the game with their speed, tenacity. They were too fast, too explosive, too quick. On offense, too fast, too explosive, too quick. But primarily on defense is where we saw the difference between these two teams, at least early on, that Miami was just overwhelming Wisconsin's offensive line, and in the face of Alex Hornibrook constantly. DJ Dallas, I thought this was very interesting that early in the game, Miami used him considerably and very effectively. He finished with 8 carries for 69 yards. He was also effective in the passing game. DJ Dallas had the 1 reception for 22 yards. I don't think they used him enough in the second half. DJ Dallas was very effective getting to the edge, making plays. He's a fine running back, has a great future for this team. And it looked like it was a difficult matchup for Wisconsin in terms of not just the speed, but the size, physicality, speed combination for this Wisconsin defense that is one of the best defenses in the country. So Wisconsin, the number 3 third down conversion offense in college football, didn't look like it early on as Miami just took the field position. DJ Dallas again featured running and catching the football. Travis Homer finished off the first drive after DJ Dallas did most of the heavy lifting, and Miami led it 7-3. They had the field position going for them. They had missed tackles on the Dallas touchdown as DJ Dallas just made 3 guys whiff as he cut in the hole and then burst outside off the block, and he was gone. It was 14-3. And again, I thought Wisconsin was going to gather themselves, especially with that senior-laden offensive line and defense. Skill position players, Wisconsin is very young and have a lot, coming back for next season at quarterback and at wide receiver in particular, and of course their freshman running back who gained 1,800 yards. But on this night, it was a quiet 26 for 130, if there is such a thing for Jonathan Taylor. He only had 1 bad game this season. That was against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. Otherwise, Jonathan Taylor holding him to a flat 5 yards per carry on 26 for 130 and a long carry of 19 yards. That's a pretty good job by the Miami defense in the run game against Wisconsin, although when they still had a shot late in the game, needing 2 scores, and it should have been 1 score, obviously, with Badgley missing the field goal from 23 yards that would have made it a 1-score game. It was disappointing defensively for Miami that they were not able to get the stops in the run game to get the ball back in the final 5 minutes of the game for the offense. Of course, so we've set it up to 14-3 with the defense completely overwhelming Alex Hornibrook and the Wisconsin offensive line. Too much speed off the edge, too much power and explosion, too many athletes coming at Wisconsin, and then DJ Dallas being featured, and it's 14-3, and the crowd's rocking and the home atmosphere. And then came the Andrew Van Ginkel interception at the line. This was played a number of times. The left tackle did not cut Van Ginkel. He was able to stay on his feet and bring the ball in and make a great hands catch, athletic play with that ball humming at him from just a few feet away. Great interception, similar to what he did in the Big Ten championship against Ohio State that kept Wisconsin in the game. He had a pick six that was very similar in that game, a ball that was supposed to be thrown out to the flat. But then right after that, Hornibrook started to find his mojo, and this is really the first that we saw out of Alex Hornibrook. A number of you are on here as Miami fans. You know that Cam Underwood of State of the U and myself talk Miami football just about every week, and we have talked about Alex Hornibrook the last couple times we've gotten together. I've watched a lot of Wisconsin football this year, the Ohio State game, Michigan, Iowa, probably a quarter or half of a few other games. He's not a bad quarterback. That's been draped around him by the national media. He's not a bad quarterback. He's made bad decisions that have led to 13 interceptions. But when he gets it working, he can throw it. He threw the back shoulder to Danny Davis. And then after that, boy, he had it working. Davis over D. Delaney on that play, and it was 14-10. And then they get the ball back. They drive right down the field, and A.J. Taylor does just about the same thing in his one-on-one matchup on the edge. That was a big theme to this game, was the Wisconsin wide receivers outplaying Miami's corners. And that was after a few plays in which the fullback, Ramish, Austin Ramish, this kid, what was impressive was the one play where he went shoulder to shoulder with one of the linebackers, and he got the best of that matchup. He got tackled, but he drove him back about 3 yards on the carry to the left side. Then the very next play, he gets the swing pass out to the right side, and he hurdles, I think it was Jaquan Johnson on the right side, that led to the Hornibrook throw to A.J. Taylor on the left corner, made a juggling catch, kept the ball in bounds, and Wisconsin led it 17-14 at that point. Okay, Mark Richt blew up on that play. Maybe rightfully so, although we've got holding calls going on all over the field, but this one seemed to be pretty blatant that gave Hornibrook time to throw. We'll never know what happened. Maybe he still would have had time to throw, but it was a pretty blatant play on the exterior of the offensive line. So it wasn't something where there were a lot of bodies in the middle. It was on the right side, Hornibrook's blind side, and it appeared to be a blatant hold grab. And it wasn't just one hold. He continued to hold him and steer him around and keep him out of Hornibrook's face. And he delivered the touchdown pass, and Mark Richt went ballistic. All right, Hornibrook, threading the needle. He throws the next touchdown to Danny Davis again, and that was the ball in which Miami had coverage in front of and also draped on Danny Davis, and Hornibrook threw it about the only place that he could in the mid part of the end zone. It was 24-14 on that in cut. As we go to the second half at 24-14, Lawrence Cager then made his presence known, and Miami really needed him. So this is another key to the game for me, is that on the first few drives that Miami moved the football, Malik Rozier broke contain. He didn't throw the ball great tonight. We've seen him look better. We've seen him look worse. He didn't look horrible. A number of his mistakes, or would-be mistakes, the results being a mistake, were not because of him. He didn't throw it great. He threw in probably about a B rating for a Malik Rozier game. But he needed Lawrence Cager in this game. But I think what Rozier could have given Miami tonight, that I expected him after the first couple series in which he broke contain and he was difficult for Wisconsin to keep up with, is I thought that was going to be a major factor in this game, that Malik Rozier was not going to dissect the Wisconsin secondary, but that he would make enough plays with his feet to make it difficult for them in the passing game on third down, and that just didn't happen. Miami did not convert a third down until late in the game. We'll get to that in just a minute. They didn't even get to third down that much. But second half, Lawrence Cager shows up. He makes a great play on a ball to make it 24-21. Derek Tyndall had the interception to make it 24-21. It may have been another touchdown. Tyndall grabbed Cager coming across the middle. That another questionable no call by the official there. Tyndall grabbed his shirt. Cager looked like out of his cut that he was going to have a decided advantage over Tyndall. Tyndall was able to catch up the late throw. So what caused it was the grab of the jersey and the late throw by Rozier. He should have thrown it on his break. He didn't. And you've got a 24-21 game at that point. Owens had a tremendous pass breakup on Troy Fumagalli that this is at the point when Wisconsin's up 24-21. It looks like they're going to score a touchdown. They get inside the red zone, and Owens breaks up the ball intended for Fumagalli. That was the one in which Fumagalli got behind the defense. Owens is trailing him, and Fumagalli, who's one of the sure-handed tight ends in college football, had the ball right in his mitts, and Owens broke it up. That saved a touchdown, and Chad Thomas followed that up with a tackle for loss in the backfield that saved Miami from getting down by 2 scores at that point. So we're into the fourth quarter. Rozier hits Cager on the back shoulder, 3rd and long. So that was the first time all night that Miami completed. This was about 13 minutes left in the game. Miami completed a ball on 3rd and long, or completed any kind of play to convert on 3rd down. They were 0 for 4 at that point. Then you had Lawrence Cager on the square in. What were his stats on the night? Let's see. He had just the big 4 plays, the 4 plays that I'm pointing out, for 76 yards. So it just seems like he was the guy there in the second half. He had the square in play, and then they had the ball to Braxton Berrios, did Rozier, in which he had Berrios wide open on a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5 play in the left flat. Berrios had his man beat, who was playing very soft, and that would have been a first down. But the right defensive end, Loudermilk, for the Wisconsin Badgers, he broke it up. Badgley had to kick the field goal. It was 27-24. So this is after the Wisconsin field goal. Badgley makes it 27-24. It looked like the Canes might go up 28-27. Loudermilk with a huge play for Wisconsin there. And then Hornibrook went to work. He just carved up the next few drives, carved up the Miami secondary. There was a comment made by Brian Greasy at one point about Miami going to a zone with about 6 or 7 minutes left in the game. Those square ends to Danny Davis, and then Fumagalli finally got involved with 3 consecutive pass receptions, and Danny Davis then against Jaquan Johnson in the end zone to make it 34-24. And then finally, we saw an appearance from Jeff Thomas. Jeff Thomas burned the defense. I believe Derek Tyndall was on him, went right by him. Ball was beautifully thrown. It was a perfect play. And I know you can't go to this play over and over and over. You have to set it up. You have to get the right look defensively with where the safety's playing on the field. But you would think Miami would have gone to that at some point a little bit earlier. There was just under 7 minutes left in the game. They're down by 10. Jeff Thomas blows by Tyndall, and he catches it down at the 10-yard line for the big reception. I believe that was Jeff Thomas's, only reception of the game for 48 yards. Of course, he's a star in the making and will have huge catches for Miami in 2018 and beyond. But the Wisconsin defense, number 1 in the nation. It was either a red zone statistic or goal-to-goal situation defensively, number 1 in the nation, and they showed us why right there. They made tremendous plays against the run. Then they tracked down Rozier, did Van Ginkel, and I thought it was an astute comment by the commentators, because I could see it as soon as it was in live action that Van Ginkel knew he had control of Rozier, took his hand off the back of his jersey, which would have prompted the horse collar call, and still made the tackle to set up the Badgley field goal. And Michael misses. Had not missed from less than 41 yards this year. Is the all-time leading scorer, leading field goal kicker in the history of the university. You hate to see this, but doink off the right upright. It was even so far inside the right upright that he didn't hit it dead on. He hit it inside, and you thought it might ricochet in. And then we've got some drama going, because then Wisconsin is in between whether they should just try to run out the clock or take some chances in the passing game, because there was still about 3.5 minutes left. But it's still a 2-score game because of the missed field goal. And there you go. Wisconsin ran out the clock. And as I mentioned off the top, a disappointment with the Miami defense and not being able to get a stop there when they knew Wisconsin would run off tackle. So, did Wisconsin bludgeon Miami with a running game? No, they were good enough, though, in the running game. They ran for 258 yards. That's pretty darn good. Check that. 142 yards rushing for Wisconsin. That's well below their average, but Jonathan Taylor did get a $130 on 26 carries at 5 yards per pop. So he didn't break any long ones. 19 was the longest run, but he was consistent, and that's what was difficult for Miami. Miami lost this game for a few different reasons. Number one, that Malik Rozier is not a great quarterback, and he didn't use his legs enough in this game to hurt the Wisconsin defense like it looked like he would after the first few drives when they went up 14-3. I think number two, they needed to use a little bit more DJ Dallas. He was extremely impressive in the attempts that he, in the attempts that he received in the first quarter to go up 14-3. He was the featured guy on the 2 touchdown drives that put them up 14-3. Travis Homer had 12 carries for 64 yards. So, he had the 1 touchdown on the drive that Dallas was featured. And then, of course, Alex Hornibrook. Once Wisconsin figured something out up front because their offensive line was overwhelmed in the first quarter. Plus, they settled down, they settled in, they worked out some protections as you thought they might. And really, Miami's pass rush wasn't much of a factor after that. Hornibrook, after the Van Ginkel play, and that turned the tide, that turned the mo around for Wisconsin. And then Hornibrook got comfortable, and he was on fire. 23 of 34 for 258 and 4 touchdowns with no picks. Led the Big Ten in interceptions, facing a defense that's number 2 in college football and turning over the opponent. And he had no turnovers. Wisconsin only had 1. That again on the first drive of the game, and it did not hurt the Badgers. Miami loses 34-24. Wisconsin should finish, they're kind of stuck. The 4 playoff teams are going to finish in the top 4 spots. Ohio State beat Wisconsin and, of course, was impressive in the Cotton Bowl, so they're going to finish ahead of Wisconsin as well. So they're stuck at number 6 with that 13-1 record. Miami 10-3. We'll have to see how it plays out on New Year's Day, where I in particular will rank the Hurricanes. We invite your comments, your questions, and your thoughts on Miami's season and this particular performance in the Orange Bowl against Wisconsin, going up 14-3 and losing 34-24 against the Badgers. If you're following Mark Rogers TV for the first time and you've stumbled upon our instant analysis for the first time, please subscribe. As you can see from rummaging through the videos, we talked to, I did the count today, believe it or not, 98 media contributors in 2017. You're not going to find that anywhere else. Guys like Jerry DiNardo from the Big Ten Network, Peter Burns from the SEC Network, and on and on and on. Phil Steele as well, and a lot of great contributors. And I know I've got a lot of Miami viewers right now, and Cam Underwood from State of the U, as well as the campus media outlet is represented, as well as our guy Alonzo1219 from the U family. So until next time, this is Mark Rogers TV, and keep watching that college football, and please subscribe, and we will talk to you soon.